Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Just Jump In live stream. Happy Friday, everybody. Hey, Ken, welcome to the live stream. Hey, John, welcome. Nice to have you in here. Yeah, it is Friday time, Ken, and I'm happy for that. I know you're retired and don't have to worry about that, but I'm right in the middle of um, our busy season at work, and actually next week's going to be our busiest. And I already could sleep for a week, but it is what it is, as they say. Okay, Mom, nice to see you in here. We'll see you later. So everybody say hi, Mom, and bye, Mom. I'm guessing there is a New York Rangers hockey game on, and that's probably why she popped in and popped out. So, I'm not a political person. I don't like to have political discussions because they don't usually go anywhere. But I'm going to say it for our American friends that are registered to vote or eligible to vote. Please make sure you go vote now or by Tuesday, and do your civic duty, as they say. And it's pretty important to all of us. And that's all I'll say about it. But so pretty big week coming up, not only at work but in America next week. On the modeling front, I did get to some work this week on the flat car. As you can see, it's getting ready for painting. I don't know if Split Rock's in here yet, but he was asking, and I'm getting ready for it. I had some questions for folks, and I'll ask them here as well, but want to go through what we've been working on. Oh, there's Split Rock. Welcome. Nice to see you in here. So in getting I'm down to the detailing part, and it's all pretty much the underside. So I don't know if I showed you last week, but I got the I redid the pockets here for the trucks, and one of them's a little loose, but the other one's nice and is the tight one, and I tested it and it works fine on the layout, so we're good to go there. Coupler heights were all good and everything. So so it was next step was the end detail. So that included the stirrups and the coupler lift bars, which I showed you last week. And there's a little detail to those coupler lift bars that you had to do. And I found a good tool once again for that. So we'll talk about that, but let's talk stirrups. Unfortunately, so this is the second week in a row that I've had issues with technology. So last week it was last week it was audio. So if everybody can just say audio is working, that would be nice, because otherwise I'm talking to myself. And this week I had a bunch of pictures to show you, but Google Slides wasn't working. I couldn't get them up here like I normally do. But I wanted to show you the various stages I was with these stirrups. So okay. Where did it go? So I think I showed you, but if not, stirrups are made from this K&S brass sheet. It's really thin and really flexible. It's 005, so it's super, super thin. And following their bending directions in the clinic, it had several bends to it. And we'll see if we can show you here. I don't know if we're going to have the focusing issue again here. My finger doesn't help that much. But there's basically a bend here. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 more bends that you have to put into this. And so I did try to do it to measured scale. Not sure how well I did. And I can tell you that not all of them came out exactly the same, but essentially what I did was I measured out I measured the length, and then I actually scribed in with a pencil or not scribe, but used a pencil to mark off the lines, and I did a whole bunch all the way across so that I had all the lines when I cut them out. And then I just used the scissors and came along in here and then just cut it like that, and it curled a little, but not bad at all. And I was able to see the lines and get the bends mostly in the right places. But this stuff is so thin, and then you cut it this thin, and so Split Rock, I was like I've said, I've been slowly trying to follow the instructions in the clinic, and there was the 05 brass sheet that they suggested. So if you have any better suggestions, that would be helpful. But here is that's just one of them right there. It's very hard to see in this camera. Hey Randy, hey Gopher Girl made it in. I've had a lot of trouble getting these on and staying on, for one, because they're so flexible, and two, because I wasn't sure if the CA was holding. So when I started it, and I use a CA that's what's the brand name? I lost the brand name. But they always you as a retailer, you can put your name on these, but it's Bob Smith Industries, I believe. But this is odorless because I found that I was having an allergic reaction. I had Gorilla Glue CA, and I was having an allergic reaction, like breathing. I was having trouble breathing with it. So with that being said, I pay a lot more for that, but I haven't had the breathing issues. It takes a little bit longer to dry, so that doesn't help this process either. But I did also buy the Instaset that you can use with it, and it accelerates it, and it gets solid quick. But even with the accelerator and the CA and it being dry, they've come off a couple times. So what I did was I went to the 5-minute epoxy, and that worked to bond it really well. And it bonded it really well. But if you put any pressure on it, it popped off like the CA was. So I went back to the CA. I got all 4 of them on, and I don't know if you can tell there, and the one I was showing you that's now back in here was on here, so it didn't stay on. So I'm open to suggestions if anybody has any on how to make sure that bonds. You Split Rock, you asked about the brass. Is there better material to um, get these stirrups on? Because I'm all ears if there's a better material on that. Um, I had to do other things that I had to do on here. Well, one of the things that I did is these pieces right here ended up, they're really big um, when I built them out, and when I put the couplers in, these were basically interfering. So I cut those down a little, and there you go. As I'm handling this, another one pops off. Um, so John, you would try E6000. I have that. I certainly can try that before I throw this thing out the window, or at least these little things, because that's even a nice stirrup that I did. This one's a nice one, and now it popped off. So I'll certainly try E6000. Then I'll have to leave it alone for probably a week or something to make sure it dries. However, if okay, Split Rock. So canopy glue. Isn't canopy glue, first of all, isn't that essentially a white glue type of glue? And also with the drying time for canopy glue, how am I gonna keep these little guys sticking on here? At least I know I can get some, adhesion with the E6000. But if you have any suggestions on other material, that would be helpful. Tight bond, so that's wood glue, right? So you're talking like this stuff right here. Is type, or is there a different type of tight bond? I really haven't dealt with details this small and this fragile, and so is that for the tight bond or the um, canopy glue? I got this from from Scale Model Supply, from Zap. So this one says drying time for handling is 3 hours. That's why I mean this one's a little bit slower. Is there another brand of canopy glue that's faster than that? So, okay. So while we're talking about that, so for so many small parts, I think a bunch flew out, unfortunately. But what it wanted, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see this little piece on the end there. There's one, and then there's two. And so they want this one to be a hole drilled into the coupler and have this part of the coupler bar linked to the coupler, and this one, the one on the outside, is going to be put into that. Oh, this is not going to work, but there's a tiny little hole on a piece that was added here for their steps. You can barely see that in this camera. Oh. Let's see if can get it to, no, further away is worse. Okay, I'll stop making you all sick, but trust me, there's a little tiny piece that you had to design to get those little things in there. But I have to say, one of the tools that I'm getting so much use out of was this 3-pack of these little things from Michael's, used mostly for beads. So when I was bending these stirrups, this helped me as these bent in all kinds of directions. This helped me flatten them, so that was excellent. This helps me cut thin wire, and then this one sort of is like the one. There is another tool, and I don't know if I have it in here. Yep. So thinking like this that people buy for couplers, for the coupler bar on the bottom, the magnetic, the metal bar on there to bend that. This basically can do the same thing, but it can do other bends too. They're both rounded and they hold together on here well. So I was able to bend, first of all, on the ends of the coupler bar, and then for these little guys, let's see, there was another one I had, but it might have flipped down here. See if I can find them in here. So barely can see that again on the camera, but I was able to bend that and create that loop with this tool. So this was a few dollars. That was well spent. I use all three now all the time. So there you go. So those are what I worked on as I was getting ready to paint. Now, prepping the paint, I did want to show you. I showed the pictures online in a number of groups and asked for some help, and I've gotten a suggestion or two. That it looks like that it looks red, and let me see if I can pull it up. I'm gonna share this way. I'm gonna share it a different way here. Let's see here. So there's that. There's the ring, first of all, and up close of the stirrups. There's the ring that I was talking about that I use that tiny little bead tool. So while there's goo is smelly and crazy, I use that on the grain bins after I didn't want to originally, but decided to go with their instructions, and it actually worked very well for that application with the while there's goo. So anyway, so let's see here. There, the actual, you can see all the stirrups are on there all together for a few minutes anyway. Here I'm prepping the paint, but here's the one that I wanted to show you. So I was looking for any inkling of any kind of maintenance away or any flat car to go on New Jersey Transit so I can make this part of a part of my layout, part of the AP program, and have it make it part of the prototype and everything like that. So I did find, I was looking for lettering, and so there's this gondola here that has lettering that's a little bit different than the lettering that you see on the flat car. So I had to really find what I could because there was no specific New Jersey Transit lettering out there. So again, asking around, I did get two types of Champs decals, and I'll show you those in a minute. The other thing I wanted to ask folks is the color. Obviously, the one on the left's pretty red, um, and nicely beat up with some graffiti and things. Um, on the right, to me, it looked a little bit orange. On here, I was taking snaps of the what am I trying to say, of the screen, so it's hard to see, but it looks kind of faded. So I had somebody say that it looks like red primer, and it's hard to find a hobby paint red primer. I know I can get a red oxide primer, uh, and then suggested weathering it a little bit to lighten it up. Asking you out there as well, what do you think I should do? Is this a straight red with some lightening up with powders, or other, or a white paint, or um, what's your suggestion? And so, and this is all, like I said, if it doesn't come out that way, it doesn't come out that way, and I have to do another color, it's fine. Or if I do a red and it just comes out red, that's fine too. Just looking for suggestions on that and make sure I go for it. But like I said, there's not really the only red primer I found was at a Ace Hardware, and it's, like I said, it's like a red oxide primer spray can, and that's a lot just for this little project. I mean, everything in my world is going to have to be red to, use that, but it's actually not that bad price wise either. I can shell out $1 or $2 extra for that, if that's the one that's going to help me out. Or should I just prime it with white or gray, and then add red paint, and then lighten it up with either powders or other paints? So, okay. So it would help if I don't do that to you, but we'll stop the screen share. So here are the decals. So I sat at Scale Model Supply staring at the Champs decal reference book for the different types of things. Now, so we'll see. Once again, let's see. It might be. Wonder if I do. No, no, no. See if I darken it up. If I darken it up a little bit, this was about as close as I could get to the condensed solid look to the lettering. So I got that, and it's just a condensed Gothic. It's for the NJTR. And then I was going to do something really, really dumb. I was going to buy lettering for, the weight and capacity. And I was going to do it, this tiny little lettering, trying to put that together, letter by letter, number by number. And that was kind of really stupid. So instead, I picked this one up for these right here. And again, hard to see on here, but what this has on here is the load limit and the weight on there. And so it's just those two lines, and they're not exact to what's on the car, that the prototype picture that we're looking at, but it will do for, it'll be good enough, and will represent the prototype at least, if I do it right. So that'll be something to tackle after painting. So, Brad, is Tamiya XF, is that enamel or is that acrylic? I generally work with acrylics, and I haven't really worked with enamels. Wasn't Split Rock wasn't isn't Plowbond, isn't that Canadian? I could be wrong about that, but I thought it was Canadian brand. Okay, so it's acrylic, so it's Tamiya XF. Okay. Yeah, all right. Okay. So, okay, I'll definitely look for that, and I'm sure I can find that locally and at the hobby shop around me. Um, so the other, I had a couple things that couple of things. One of them is Split Rock. What was the name of the shop in St. Paul for painting supplies? I'm wondering if I was looking at the right place. Was it called? Is it called Wet Paint? And let's see here. Let's go back to the. Nope, too bright, too bright, too bright. Oh my goodness, right. Um, all right, that is a weird kind of red. I don't know. Okay, I'm not gonna. I'm like 20, 22, 21 good shows, no issues, and then I'm having all kinds of tech issues all of a sudden. Last two shows, I guess it's my time. Um, so the other thing I wanted to share for those that are in or will be in the Twin Cities tomorrow. So of course that's uh, I some of you in here are, and I'm assuming that you will. Um, I'm assuming that you'll probably be there, but wanted to share it anyway. Let's see if you can see this. So there's a new RPM meet in Twin Cities in Burnsville, Minnesota tomorrow. The neat thing about this is in trying to build up um, derail, Daryl, hey, don't sniff the glue like all I do, which explains a lot. Um, so there's a new RPM meet that's happening in the Twin Cities. And I think to drum up some support for it, to get it started, you can see that little thing that says, I don't know if I can. Uh, so, so as you can see here, it says it's free for entry and free for exhibitors. So if you're wanting to exhibit, it's a free entry, free to exhibit, um, and free to attend. Um, I'm hoping I'm hoping that I'll be able to attend this. We'll see. So doors open at 9 a.m. to the public and close at 4. Um, and also, after the show, if you go visit in the Burnsville Center Mall, the Fremo HO layout is there. It's really, really neat. The guys there are fun to talk to, and they're willing to help you with any questions that you have. So I think those would be some cool things to do tomorrow in the Twin Cities. And there's Greg Smith's contact information if you have questions, northstarrpm@yahoo.com. But certainly, certainly something to check out. I'm interested to see who's going to exhibit. Split Rock, did you turn on your computer? Did you plug it in? Maybe. But yeah, so I just wanted to let everybody know that that's going on as well. Hey Ken, are you exhibiting anything, or are you going to check it out? Hey Zoe, welcome. Hey Daryl, I have a question for you if you're willing to share. I always wondered this. I know you're out on the West Coast. I know you have that easygoing vibe to you and everything. Are you working stiff like me, or are you retired? Well, what else would you exhibit, Ken? I can't see you doing HO or Z or N or anything like that. Zoe, people are idiots everywhere, not just in the game. The sooner we all realize that, the easier life is going to be. All right. The other thing I was trying to do, paint wise, um, was I actually was trying to do kind of a red oxide with the paints I had. So I was grabbing I have some of this ammo rail center red. I also have like this is a caboose red. I have red paint. I think one of them satin. I have like hobby paints like this. I used a little bit of burnt sienna. And I even tried some orange at somebody's suggestion in here, and I was going through and mixing, and I didn't do a good mix with the paintbrush to see this, and then I actually I tried fading with some white powder over top to see what colors will work, and of course, on here, on video and with this camera, not necessarily going to see this very well. But I could do this, but I thought, if I was going to do the red primer, that's all I was going to need. And, um, so, um, but, yeah, so I was practicing that too. Just trying to see what I can do with this. And I really want to try and get this finished up. You know, like, um, like, like I said, I am trying, uh, oh, well, so you're busy, Daryl, for sure. Um, you know, it's kind of funny. We have I work in a building where our offices are secure with key cards and everything, and only certain people are allowed in. But you have all kinds of maintenance workers and things, and that can get in, and that includes a shredding company that comes in and shreds for us too. So you get into some good places, I'm sure, doing that. But it's definitely a good business to be in. And so I'm sure that keeps you busy. So, which South Park character were you, Zoe? We dressed up our dogs as bananas. So, all right. So, the last thing I wanted to show you was not actually work I was doing, but you know, I'm always promoting my mom because she's always promoting me. So, so all of a sudden in the mail, I get this little booklet called "The Train" by Eileen Cohen, and this is her journey. I don't know if you can see this, but those are metro trains in Chicago. This is her from her journey coming out to visit my brother in Colorado, and me in Minnesota and our families. And so she took all these pictures. They're really amazing pictures, and created this poem. And if you, I don't know if you remember, but I showed you her book last time. Um, and then I can't take pictures like that. And so I think that's amazing. The pictures that she got on here. And then and then now I didn't ask her whose house that is because that's not my brother's house and it's not my house. So I'm wondering where the train took her. Well, if I miss you, sorry about that, John. Have a good night. Have a great weekend. We'll probably see you on Sunday on Sidetrack Sunday. But this is a nice little surprise and a nice bit of artwork from my mother. So hopefully she continues to do more stuff and we can have her publish another book. That would be awesome. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to show you, a little bit of off the beaten path type of thing, and um, show you where I'm at. So hopefully we'll get the paint moving and I'll pull out the E6000 and get those stirrups back on again and see if we can move forward with this and get to the painting piece. So. Zoe, did I miss it? Did you mention who you were? Um, Butters is Gopher Girl's favorite. Here. What is it he always says? Oh, hamburgers. I don't suppose anybody wants to see me do paperwork um, on the show. Um, but the next thing up I'm going to have to do for this, and I doesn't have to be the next thing up. I can do it at any time, but I got to do the AP paperwork for that. Yep, that's it. Ah, hamburgers. Now I'm hungry. I want a hamburger and fries. Um, yeah, Ken, I'm trying to do a better job of asking around. So like when I was asking the paint question, I posted those photos and asked around in a bunch of different groups and I got some different answers from uh um different folks and um um you know I they sound like some sound advice, and it's just finding the stuff. So Brad has on here has never steered me wrong, so I'll definitely look. So why hasn't Daryl? Why hasn't In and Out expanded? Everybody talks about In and Out. All the celebrities talk about it, but they're not all over the country. So I don't get that. Why they haven't expanded. But for years I've been hearing about In and Out Burger. And I'm willing to try it, but I'm not getting out to California anytime soon. So I'd love to, but that's not happening. Maybe when I retire. Um, what else are folks working on tonight? If I don't know if Split Rock got back in here, I haven't seen comments from him, so I might have lost his internet or something. Um, but Ken, are you like working on anything last minute um, for the meet tomorrow, or are you just displaying what you have? Hi, Mom. You missed it. I already talked about your poem. I was hoping I'm assuming it was for a Ranger game that you were holding out. You snuck back in with a handful of Halloween candy. Gopher Girl bought us Halloween candy not to give out, but to eat ourselves. Now that's a good wife. Still working on the steel fabricator interior. Okay. Okay. Are you gonna jump back on and are you gonna do a regular live stream, Brad? Well, Daryl, there are ways. There are ways to get those burgers across the country, at least out to Minnesota, so I can finally try them. I'd be a little afraid of you sending one to me and going through the mail. You never know what's going to happen to it. Oh, hey, that reminds me, Ken, when talking about your uh, um, decals. Um, I was watching. I continue to watch and listen and try to learn more and getting my decaling better. Um, One of the things that I recently saw was um, um, somebody had said, and I've heard this, and I've done it, is do the gloss coat for the decals. But then he said once the decals are on and dry, he gloss coats it again to protect them. And so, um, wondering if that's a good idea to actually gloss coat again, because for weathering and stuff, I would then have to um, um, do like a matte coat on it um, for the weathering part. So just wondering. Yeah, if you do UPS ground, are they going to drag the burgers along the ground all the way from California? And how much would it cost to ship? Is it like $4 for a burger and $23 for shipping? So Split Rock. So is there a difference between a clear coat and a varnish? Like, so I've seen many people talk varnish, and then I see the clear coats out there, and I've used just matte satin or, gloss clear coat. But then there are companies like Vallejo and others that make a varnish, and I'm curious what the difference is there. One of them I saw like using like a Vallejo varnish. Um, he um, he used thinner with it as well. So I've never tackled that before and varnish before, and I'm curious what the difference is. Okay, gotcha, Ken. I'll definitely do that with this guy and with those tiny little decals. Um, and we'll try that. I on other things I've decaled, I didn't put a gloss coat over top of it. I just put it underneath. Oh, I don't know if I could do that, Split Rock. I'm not that patient. I'm like, okay, I just sprayed it. Can I now move on to the next step? That'd be a tough one for me. But I'll have to check varnish out and see. Does it give a different effect as varnish um than just a regular flat coat or regular clear coat? I swear there was something else I was going to show, but I can't remember. Oh, yeah. I'm hoping that I have a little bit more energy after our little busy season. So December it'll slow down. I have a week off around Christmas in December. Then January it picks up a little bit. By the end of January, mid January, even it really quiets down and we get back into our routine stuff. Um, and so I'm hoping to have some energy. First of all, I'm hoping to be done with this one, and then have some energy to get back into modeling. So I'm kind of frustrated with myself because there's no reason when this is going really slow that I can't go back to working on the other cars. So if you remember, I actually have four other cars, but one of the under frames and car bodies don't match, so I have to figure out what to do with that. But I have three others that I could be working on. Um, yep. And then I think we need a skill day, Ken, on both how to manage watching paint dry and watching glue dry. Because if I can master that skill, I'm going to be a great modeler because I'm not going to ruin stuff from jumping back into it. Yep, Ken, you're correct, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I need a clinic or a skill day to help me through that. So, Brad, you said you stick with Tamiya thinned with IPA. Are you're talking about a varnish? So yeah, so split rack, that's what I'm talking about. I have to get my head around being able to do that because there's no reason I can't be sitting here and talking to you and working on one of these cars. So my vision was that I was going to work on four cars together and just trying to focus on doing it the first time was, I felt better about doing that. But here I have 3 others waiting for me to work on it. And they don't have to be as detailed as the cab car. So there's less work that I need to do on them. For instance, the air tanks, there's only one air tank on the regular passenger cars. There's no reason I couldn't build 3 of them and glue them on, you know. Um, but that's what I got to get my head around. And once I do that, then I think I could get moving. I think part of it was I was excited to try and design some of the parts in for 3D printing. But the person that's doing the 3D printing has multiple projects going on, has another baby on the way, and so can't be as responsive. He's actually working on a project for my mother right now, a dollhouse miniature project. So I think I was a little excited about trying to get some of those things printed out so that I could try and fit them on here. But there are things I could go ahead and do, and I have to get the energy and kind of move myself into what you do, Split Rock, and so that'll be. So Ken, you said good luck. It takes many years to learn that. Well, my problem is I'm too impatient, and that gets in the way of learning that. I know you, a Split Rock. I know you've told me this several times. So, but I'm going to ask again. So, do you just work in the yard, or do you actually have a route around in Minnesota or Wisconsin, or what do you normally do on the rails? Hey Zoe, have a great night. Have a great weekend. I'm sure I'll catch you on other streams this weekend. Thanks for coming in. Age grasshopper age. So yeah. So is that in St. Paul where you're at, Split Rock? Didn't you weren't you working a job where you were going by during the picnic at one point in St. Paul? Of course, I wasn't there, so as he hides his head. Another piece that doesn't have to go on these if I don't want them to is the waist unit, which is really nice because that was really intricate, and I think I've broken it like 3 times from handling them, moving them around. Okay, all right, gotcha. So, how many years have you been engineer for them, or have been working with them to get your seniority? There was a video that popped up on my YouTube channel, and I watched it at lunchtime the other day, and it was a PBS special, and it was featuring one of the several of the railroads around Minnesota, around Duluth and Iron Range, just talking all about railroading over 20 years. Gotcha. do you do you actually get anything for miles? Do you have a do you have a club for miles. Uh, and they were in different segments. And, these are, they're all working class guys. They all got the accents, the Minnesota accents. It was, coming from outside of Minnesota. It was kind of funny to kind of hear that and everything, but it was really informative. And they were talking about all things like repairing, how they were repairing the rails and the runs that they do. And, one guy talked about how he does a run where he switches with two other railroads. He switches with, I think, UP and BNSF. And so he's talking about the jobs that he has and the time it can take. And he's, talking about how when he's on their rails, they run things and sometimes it takes them, his 12-hour shift, and he actually has to stop because the 12-hour shift is up and he hasn't finished because he has to wait for direction from their railroads. And when he was doing the run, when they were doing the interview, like this got done in no time, and he has all this extra time in his shift. It was a really, really interesting video. If I can find it, I'll let folks know what it was, because not even from a Minnesota perspective, just from a railroading perspective. My thing being more of a modeler than a railroader, getting to understand some of the stuff is a little more difficult. And so let's see if I can find it here. I was actually looking to see if I noticed any of the engineers. It was much older. I don't know if it was 90s when it was on or when it was exactly. It looked like standard definition, whatever that means to you. And let's see here. Let's see. Let me get the URL for it. Here we go. That's the URL for the video. It's called Working on the Railroad, PBS North documentary. Railroad experience on the tip of Lake Superior, 6 major rail carriers he talks about. So I found that to be very interesting. It's a good hour and 15 minutes of your time, but it's worth the watch. And no, I didn't recognize anybody, names or faces of anybody. And I know Bob Rivard kind of stayed around here. I didn't see him up there and, taking pictures or anything. I didn't look at the credits either. I don't know if he was involved in it at that time either, but recommended for anybody who's a model railroad or railroad fan. It was pretty interesting to me. So not you, Gopher Girl, since you're more of a Lego fan and not a model railroad or railroad fan. All right. So with that, I think I am going to say good night and go watch that video. And I think it'll be a good way to round out your night. For some of you, it's really, really late. Some of you, it's not so late, but check it out. Remember to just jump in and try something. And I think you'll enjoy it. And if you don't, then you try something new and different. But just jump in. Have a good night, everybody. Have a great weekend.